The Eagles take down the Ravens. The Steelers and the Bengals have a shootout. The Vikings make a late comeback to top the Cardinals. And the Chargers win in a low-scoring game against the Falcons. Let's talk about the biggest takeaways from the Week 13 act. Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Football Podcast, sponsored by Circa Las Vegas Resort and Casino. I'm Jim Coventry. You can catch me over at Jim Coventry NFL. All right, instant reaction number one. Yes, the Ravens and the Eagles play. The Ravens take a loss 24-19. In this game, it was great. We loved watching it. We were expecting many different potential things. Some of us wanted a shootout. I wanted a shootout. The more we broke this game down, it was problematic. I just did not see the shootout, and it ended up not happening. And right now, the Eagles, they prove a lot. And what they are right now is, and you know this isn't any great shakes. This is a run-based offense. Very simply, that's what they do. That is all they're about. So that said, with the run-based offense, they're not going to throw a lot. So all that said, Saquon Barkley, it's his show. The goal line, it's going to be some Jalen Hurts, 19 pass attempts. And Barkley runs 23 times. Hurts runs another 9, so 32 rushes from them, 19 pass attempts. So in this game, they ground him down. And that's what they do. We've seen this throughout the year. It is a massive deal when we see them put the nails down. That offensive line, big, powerful line. Eventually, Barkley gets his. We've been seeing it for weeks. He gets going in the second half, breaks a long touchdown run, which eventually breaks the back of the opponents. A.J. Brown, 6 targets. Again, 19 pass attempts. So what's there left? And, the Ravens did a nice job on them. They definitely put some over-the-top help, but 5 catches for 66 yards. So that's all you're going to get. There are games where you like to see Brown get deep, and he often does. Ravens are a well-coached team. They knew their deficiencies. They knew Devontae Smith was out. So it was a lot easier to defend A.J. Brown, knowing you got Jahan Dotson, little Paris Campbell, little Britton Covey. Who cares? Dallas Goedert, we thought it was a good matchup. And again, on 4 targets, he did run in the touchdown on the catch, which was really nice. 3 for 35 and a touchdown. You're definitely taking that for fantasy if you started him. So that definitely worked out. So all that said, it was a take care of business game. It's a statement game. And with the Ravens offense, Lamar Jackson's a superstar, and they got Mark Andrews, they got Derrick Henry, and even Zay Flowers. This isn't the Lions, but the Eagles have shown that defense can do a lot against opponents that have good offenses. This is a very good defense. Vic Fangio has done a phenomenal job. He's got a couple great cornerbacks. They got a great pass rush. Against the run, they're solid. And Derrick Henry is fine. 19 carries, 82 yards. Not a great game. And again, not playing with the lead certainly hurts because Lamar Jackson throws 36 passes. So because they trailed in the second half, it was going to be more of a pass-based game, and that was something that was not really going to be what they wanted to do. You would like to think the Ravens can win in any type of scenario. Early in the season, we thought that. We thought that if Lamar's got to go pass-heavy, Lamar can make it happen. Now, Lamar rushes for 79 yards, about 40 that came on the second to last play of the game. They did score a touchdown. The game was over. Clock was done, down a couple seconds. They do get a garbage touchdown to Isaiah Likely, I believe. I didn't have that in my notes. I think I took that note before that touchdown, but I do think it was Isaiah Likely late. Like I said, Henry caught 29 yards through the air, so that got him to a 111-yard scrimmage. You'll take it. Didn't get the touchdown. 3 catches was nice. Lamar did throw 2 touchdown passes, again, running for 79. Great. For fantasy, he's great. Zay Flowers had a long catch. That kind of made his day, but 3 for 74. Not a good game for him. We worried about that. We thought this wasn't a good match. We thought there was downside, but the long catch at least got you 10 PPR points. Mark Andrews, couple catches where he had a sky up in the air and grab him. So Mark Andrews, 6 for 67 and a touchdown. Like we said, there's going to be down games from tight ends. It's the way it's going to be. So there's not much else we could do about that. But with Mark Andrews, I think unless you have an exceptional option, I think you kind of got to go with him. You got to play him each week and just expect that he's going to be able to get it done for you. So all that said, in the pecking order, this is a massive, massive loss for the Ravens. The Ravens dropping this game, they fall 5 losses now, 8-5, 2 games behind the Steelers. Again, they have 12 games of 13. The Ravens are on a bye next week, so 2 losses out. It's going to be tough to overcome that. And like we talked about, the Ravens will be playing playoff games on the road. 8-5. We are fairly certain they're going to make it. They're not a guarantee to make it, but they should make it. Of course, the divisional games they play are tough because you never know who's going to win those. But right now, when you look at it, you got the 4 division winners, assuming Pittsburgh, you got 3 wild cards. You got the Chargers at 8-4. You've got the Ravens at 8-5, and then you get the Broncos at 7-5. And then, because realistically, then you got Miami 5-7 and Indy 6-7. So you have to think the Ravens do make the playoffs. But again, at 8-5, you're a lot more nervous than you were. All right, instant reaction number 2. The Steelers and the Bengals have a shootout. Kind of saw this coming. I thought it would go around 50. Well, way more than 50. 44-38, 82 points. I know at one point they said it was the biggest scoring first half in the history of Ravens and Bengals, and I'm sure with the outcome being 44-30, I'm sure it was the highest scoring. I don't have that note in front of me, but I'm sure it was the highest scoring game between them. Weird game. The Steelers got a lead, and Russell Wilson, we had him as upside this week. I moved with the quarterback 12, so that kind of like took the upside tag off because I was kind of giving him the upside there because I thought it was a very favorable matchup. Did not see 414 yards coming. Did not see that. 3 touchdowns. Could have seen the 3 touchdowns coming. Could have seen that because the Bengals have been good against the run, not good against the pass. And the pass rush has not been great. Trey Hendrickson's wonderful, but the rest of the pass rush has not been very effective. I was surprised. Najee Harris has been inefficient 3 weeks in a row. Did not like this matchup. And 16 for 75, and he catches another 6 for 54. So if you played him, you got 129 scrimmage yards and a touchdown. Look, there were a lot of games where I was very nervous about Najee Harris, and if you had a good other option, I may have recommended the other option. The way Harris had been playing, didn't see that. Jalen Warren, he had been getting a lot of touches. Well, while Harris is getting 22 touches, and again, there are 7 games going on. To my knowledge, there was no Jalen Warren injury. 20, and they were playing with the lead, so maybe that's part of it. 22 touches, only 7 for Warren. Now, Warren through the air, 4 for 55. He was great, 3 carries, 9 yards. But I thought this would be the game where Warren would really have an opportunity getting to the outside, catching the ball. But both running backs 8. It was a statement win. Now, the funny thing is with Russell Wilson firing up for 414 yards, you had George Pickens 3 for 74 and a touchdown. Again, you'll take that. But if you're going to tell me that Wilson's going to throw for 414 and 3, you were thinking Pickens would go for 130 and a couple, probably. Didn't happen. And as to where the receiving yardage came from, like I said, the running backs had 92. Well, actually, Patterson, Cordero, 37 yards as a receiver. So the running backs, about 140 yards, top of my head, through the air, 140 of those yards to the running backs. Freiermuth and Mike 68 yards of touchdown. Michael Pruitt and Darnell Washington, tight ends, chip in another 31. So your tight ends put in 100 yards. So you kind of see the theme here. And then the receivers, Van Jefferson catches 1 long pass. Calvin Austin got injured, got an early touchdown. Ben Skoranek at 23-yard reception. Very weird game in terms of the receivers with a 414-yard game. But if you played Russell Wilson, you're certainly happy. Again, Pickens you would have liked more. But the Bengals were not playing very well offensively, but then in the second half, the garbage time saved them. They were trailing. So Joe Burrow ends up getting to 309 and 3 touchdowns, but it was not on that path. We were looking like at maybe a 190 and 1 touchdown game, but fortunately the rate of victory ended up pushing that. So that was great. And then Chase Brown got an early long touchdown. So his 15 touches turned into 100 scrimmage yards and a touchdown. So fortunately, I said he had downside, but you start him. I got him as a highly ranked running back, but I said there was downside. The long run took away that downside and gave him an excellent fantasy performance. The receivers, again, 309 from Burrow. You'd think Chase and Higgins would kind of go off. Didn't really happen. They were fine. Chase 86 yards and a touchdown, 9 targets. Higgins again gets 10. He frequently gets more targets than Jamar Chase. So 69 yards and a touchdown for Higgins. Chipping in the tight ends. They always throw to their tight ends. Gesicki 53 yards, Hudson 28, Sample 8. So again, you got about 90 or 100 yards out of the tight ends there, which was very, very interesting. Khalil Herbert's still not a factor. So the Bengals for fantasy, they're great. The only thing you start to worry about now is the Bengals are 4-8, and they are close to being eliminated. Very, very close. Not statistically eliminated, but close. We get a little nervous about that because at some point, Higgins up for a contract. If he gets dinged up at all, and I know he's been a Warrior, he's got out there and he's played. And I know that I maybe I've been like a little harsh before, but the injuries have been legitimate, and he has gotten out there and played. But at some point, the team may want to take a little more look at Jermaine Burton. They may want to take a look at Andre Yoshivas in an expanded role, although they've seen him play quite a bit. They may want to see Khalil Herbert get a little more work, see if it's somebody that they consider, looking at if maybe Zach Moss, somebody they don't see in their plans. So I could see a scenario where they start to give other players more playing time. Now, when they have divisional battles, maybe they do go all out because they'd probably like to take down their division mates. But I am a little nervous about the Bengals as we get deeper into the fantasy playoffs because, again, they have every reason to see what they've got in some of these other players. But hopefully that's not the case. I would love to be wrong on that. Being wrong sometimes is a good thing. Hey, the end of the season is getting closer. Catch the big game poolside at Stadium Swim at Circa Resort and Casino in Las Vegas. 6 temperature-controlled pools, a massive 143-foot screen, and booming game sound. Plus, view the pyrotechnics and visual effects throughout the game. You can grab the best seat in the sun with day beds, poolside boxes, cabanas, and more. Stadium Swim's big game viewing party is February 9th, only at Circa Resort and Casino. Space is going fast. Reserve your spot today at circalasvegas.com. All right, we're down to instant reaction number 3. It's the Vikings make a late comeback and top the Cardinals 23-22. The Cardinals had a solid lead in this game and doubled it. I think it was 19-6. Top of my head, I'm going to look this up while we're talking here. But they had a solid lead in this game, and it was very frustrating because they were trying to bring pressure, but they couldn't hold on to the lead. Offensively, they just didn't do enough to move the ball. We'll talk about the individual teams in a moment. But yeah, it was with about 4.5 minutes left in the third quarter. They go up 19-6 on a Marvin Harrison touchdown. He finally finds the end zone again. He had a lot of touchdowns this year. The yardage has been great, but he's been finding the end zone. And then Johnny Munt, of course, scores the touchdown, the first touchdown of the game for the Vikings. Comes with a minute left in the third quarter. So they had no touchdowns until then. Aaron Jones had lost a fumble early in this game, but then after the team trades field goals 22-16, a minute left in the game, Aaron Jones redeems himself, catches a 5-yard pass from Sam Darnold. So Aaron Jones scores the touchdown. They go ahead. Kyler Murray can't do much of the few seconds they have remaining, and we call it a day. So big loss for Arizona. That whole division is up for grabs. So now Seattle gets the big win over the Jets. They go to 7-5. You got the Cardinals and Rams at 6-6. And then the 49ers play in a few minutes, 5-6. We'll see how they do with the Bills. Not excited about their matchup here. I'll be out in about 20 minutes from the time we're live right now. So that's it. Sam Darnold for fantasy again gets it done. Not a good performance. Unlike last week, when it was everybody else and not Jefferson, the Bears had a good pass defense. They bracketed. They had great pass defenders, and then they just whooped them with everybody else. Jefferson goes 7 for 99 on 9 targets. After that, it wasn't a whole lot else. TJ Hockenson 3 for 28. Addison 4 for 54. Even Aaron Jones, 5 carries, 22 yards. Game script was awful. 3 catches, 6 yards. He does score a touchdown, so Aaron Jones bails you for fantasy. But again, Darnold gets the 2 touchdowns, 23 rushing yards, but not much. This Vikings offense is a little bit problematic, though, as we near the playoffs. The more film that gets out on Sam Darnold, you just see you got to get pressure on him. And the teams that can do that, it's going to be an issue. And look, right now, Minnesota is 10-2. They're going to be in the playoffs. We're definitely going to be seeing them there. I don't know what the clinch scenario is, but it's got to be super close at this point, and probably another win does it. And they're making the playoffs. They're going to be on the road because they're, well, I can't say they're on the road. There's their game behind the Lions, and should something happen, they could, but assume they're on the road. And if they face any team that puts up big pressure, I just don't see Darnold holding up on that stage. It's going to be problematic for him. Justin Jefferson is not weaponized nearly enough with Darnold. Remember, Darnold is putting up, I'm sorry, not Darnold. Jefferson is putting up insane numbers when he had Nick Mullins as his quarterback. Been nowhere close to those numbers. They've been great high floor, but there's been no ceiling with Justin Jefferson, and that's a little bit unfortunate. Aaron Jones, look, the 3 fumbles in 3 games. The team will keep going back to him. Not worried about it. So there's that. Other side, Murray does okay for fantasy. The matchup was really good for him scrambling out, but it's just like Trey McBride and like not much else. McBride 12 for 96. Now he catches all 12 targets. Harrison gets 12 targets as well, 5 for 60 to touchdown. So he got the touchdown and bailed you. But realistically, passing game is not humming. James Conner did enough on the ground, 17 for 68, 4 yards a carry against one of the best run defense in the league, chipped in 13 yards receiving. So Conner continues to be fine. This was one of his lower PPR. So it was like 81 yards and 3 catches, so 11. So he's been 11 or more PPR points in all but 3 games, 2 games under 9.9. So he's been money for a floor play. He hasn't had the fantastic ceiling every game, but he does have a great floor. So you continue to roll with that. But I am worried about Arizona. I could see them falling out of the playoff picture. Defense, they got to use little smoke and mirrors, trying to create some pressure. And it worked to a degree on Darnold. But it just, at some point, I'm concerned. Darius Robinson did come back from the defensive end that they drafted number 27 overall. We'll see if he gets more impact as time goes on. But not overly optimistic with the way the Cardinals look right now. I think Drew Petzing did a great job coordinating the offense last year. I just think he's having a real tough time integrating the pass weapons to weaponize and make them explosive enough. Maybe things can change, but we are through 13 weeks, and I'm not overly optimistic about that happening. All right, we will go over more of this week's reactions after we take a short break. All right, instant reaction number 4. The Chargers win in a low-scoring game against the Atlanta Falcons. So in this one, this is a weird game. And Charlene brings up that Bucky Irving, Cooper Kupp, Cooper Kupp had a poor game today. We'll talk about that one near the end of the show, I think. Instant reaction 4, like I said, Chargers over Atlanta. So 17-13. What more do I say other than Kirk Cousins threw 4 picks? Threw a pick 6. They were picking the end zone late. They were trying to push for points. I get it. The Chargers are not a great pressure team, but the Chargers are well coached. And they knew. Get pressure on Kirk Cousins. And that's what they did. They sent extra bodies. And Cousins just cannot deal with pressure anymore. 24 for 39, 245, no touchdowns, 4 picks. Drake London did fine, 9 for 86. He had 16 targets to get there. Had one that he dropped late, got pried loose from his hands. That was a big one. That was a big one there. The only other player that was really successful as a receiver, McLeod, and most of you aren't starting him, 4 for 95. He's had 6 targets in a couple straight games. Mooney, we said he'd struggle in this one. Did not like the Chargers zone matchup against him. Unfortunately, that was true. Don't know what the heck's going on with Kyle Pitts. Goose egg. 2 targets. I thought this was an exploitable matchup. Now, maybe it was the pressure that was being put on Cousins. I thought that Pitts in the seam would have been a really good option. The Chargers are not a shutdown group against tight ends. I thought that they could weaponize him here. It didn't happen. Bijan Robinson was fine. Volume. 26 carries and 6 targets. So he ends up with 135 scrimmage yards and a touchdown. So it was great. Didn't dominate the game, but played well, especially when the passing game wasn't going. So it wasn't like a 2-pronged attack. So I obviously you have to question Bijan and Drake London there in your lives. But realistically, I was worried about the Atlanta offense when they would have games with big pressure. But now I think the film's out. I think people just send the house. I think they just send the house, and Kirk Cousins, they know eventually will probably make a mistake. Charlene, I don't think you pick up. I don't think they're going away from Cousins. I don't think they're going away from him. They're still playing. I mean, their record's still solid. They're still in, a half a game up for the division lead, 6-6. I think they believe they're going to win the division. Now, if let's say they lose the next 2 games and they fall behind the Buccaneers, but at any point they're in striking range, I don't think they want to turn it over. Look, Penix was an old rookie, and I know that worked out for works out for some. Usually that doesn't work out great. And he had that big breakout as an old senior, been playing 6 years. Usually it does not so good. And I know when we see him in college, we kind of think a certain way. I just don't think Cousins is going anywhere. I think that they're going to keep rolling with him. I could be wrong. And then, look, on the Charger side of the ball, like I said, they're well coached. And what I really picked up here was by being well coached, you play a conservative game attack. They trusted their defense. They didn't put Justin Herbert in any uncomfortable situations. 12 of 23 passes went to Ladd McConkey. So over 50% target share to McConkey. And then obviously with that, 9 of the 16 completions went to McConkey, 117 yards. So Herbert throws for 147. Only 30 yards went to receivers who were not named Ladd McConkey. McConkey, this is a great matchup for him. He was wide open in the middle of the field on numerous occasions, and they took that. The running game didn't do much. Gus Edwards, 6 for 32. Told you not to start him. Did not have confidence in him. Kimani Vidal, we thought he'd be the number 2. Yeah, he got 4 carries, 20 yards. That's it. No targets, nothing. So you 3.2 for Edwards, 2.2 fantasy points for Vidal. I mean, what do you do with that? I mean, this matchup, you can't take much from it. The defense won the game. That's what the Chargers care about. They understand. I know everybody plays to win, but they coached this one specifically to win this game the way they had to. Manage the clock, let the defense do their job. And so hats off to the Chargers organization. This wasn't a signature win, but it was a great team and coaching victory. So I just want to point out there are many different ways that this team can win some games. All right. It's a new season of Live Golf Fantasy. It's coming in 2025. New prizes, new ways to win, and more are coming in the new season. Get ready to play and sign up now at fantasy.livegolf.com. Again, it's fantasy.livegolf.com. All right, we have instant reaction number 5. The Rams hang on to beat the Saints 21-14. This was a very painful game to watch. It really appeared that the Rams didn't have a lot of urgency. Almost like they took them lightly. And that happens. It's a subliminal switch, I call it. You hear me talk about it all the time. And I'll give the Saints some credit. Like we talked about with Kirk Cousins, Matthew Stafford has also had a lot of struggles under pressure. And so what did the Saints do? They don't get pressure, but they dialed up extra pressure by sending extra bodies. And it was successful. It had some success. It did rattle Stafford at times, and finding a successful scoring drive was hard to do. Now, in the second half, they had a little better success when they had to win the game. And I'm going to give the Rams credit there. They won when they had to put something together late. And that's the sign of a well-coached and a good team, kind of like way different than the Chargers, but again, different in some ways. So this game was 6-0 Saints at the half, 2 field goals, and the Rams, again, they could not move the ball. Then the Rams, they finally go up midway through the third quarter. Kyren Williams runs in a touchdown from the 4. We know that the Rams, I always say between the 5 and the 20, they struggle scoring. But inside the 5, they're fine, and they get Kyren Williams. And then to start the fourth quarter, 2 passes in a row. They get a long pass to DeMarcus Robinson down the sideline, and they come back to him on a nice out near the goal line. So he scores the touchdown. So your touchdown's Kyren Williams. You expect that, although he hadn't scored in a few games. I think he scored last week, and then he hadn't scored the few before that. And so Taysom Hill got injured. I'll talk about that in a second. And so DeMarcus Robinson scores the touchdown, and then they get the 14-6 lead. Of course, the Saints come back downfield. And who scores a touchdown? Marquez Valdes-Scantling. I think he has 8 receptions and 4 touchdowns in 3 games with them. It's almost like Nick Westbrook-Akine funny. At the end of the show, we'll make a quick mention of him as well. Let's do it now. I know we're talking Saints. Westbrook-Akine has 20 catches, 8 touchdowns. Both he and Valdes-Scantling, they're like this year's touchdowns kings. It's not sustainable, but if you're in fantasy and you got to take a whirl at him, I mean, it's been hitting week after week, right? I mean, it's got to dry up, right? Same for Valdes-Scantling, but he is their de facto number one. So that's what makes it interesting. He doesn't get a lot of targets, but when they need a play, they go to him. And then the game gets tied. Then it was fun at the end. Puka Nacua finally scores 7-yard touchdown. And then Saints get the ball. They're driving the field. They're down inside the 10-yard line, and they just bonked. The play calling got a little bit shaky down in the red zone, but I thought they didn't manage the clock well either. But it all ended up they tried on 4th down, didn't get it. Garrett Carr got hit. They tried to roll him out, and I think it was Jared Verse maybe made a nice little track down on him. So yeah, that's it. The Rams do what they have to do, though. They win a road game, and that's a big deal. Charlene talks about Taysom Hill, and he was playing well. He had, how many catches did he have? He had, I'll tell you in a second. Taysom Hill had 5 catches for 37 on 7 targets, 5 carries for 10 yards. The Rams were prepared for him. He hurt his knee. He was cashed in the 1st down, I believe, in the 4th quarter, early, and he hurt his knee. I thought it was his head at first, but yeah, not a rough injury. So yeah, all that said, Taysom Hill didn't have a great game. You're always in the boom bust thing, right? But I hope he's okay. He's fun. He's good for football. He's 34 years old. One of the oldest players, but he's so good. Before we get out of here, it's Otto's on the line here. He goes, should I be panicking about Kenneth Walker? Yeah, I think so. I think we're in at that point about Kenneth Walker. And I think the problem is, and I've been talking about this in the preseason, my problem was we get Ryan Grubb taking over the offense. And I say these college-only coaches that come in to run an NFL offense. In college, you don't make adjustments. You're either your scheme is better or your players are better, and people are wide open all day, every day. And you think, okay, yep, take this, no adjustments. You walk in, walk out. You can use a game plan all season a lot of times. In the NFL, first half of the first game, defenses are already making adjustments. And this is way over Ryan Grubb's head. The college coaches I remember who were successful, Jimmy Johnson, of course, took on that Cowboys team. Jimmy Johnson did a phenomenal job. 1 year, Chip Kelly caught the league off guard by running like 800 miles per hour on offense. They caught up and they shut him down. The other ones were all like, there was like one other, I can't remember who it was. Wasn't a big deal one. And like Jim Harbaugh doesn't count because he was an NFL player, so he understood adjustments. There were a couple like ones that would have gone to the NFL, college, and back. They don't count because they knew about adjustments. So yeah, Ryan Grubb was always going to be over his head, just like Steve Sarkisian was years back with the Falcons. I'm going to go and say these guys aren't going to be outliers. If I'm wrong once in a while, it'll happen. But Kenneth Walker's problem, to your question, the spacing. Early in the season, 20 for $103, 12 for 80. He was sailing. Adjustments were made after that. And then since then, it's been slog. Nothing but slog. Because teams understood what Grubb was doing. They understood the spacing he was trying to use. They attacked the specific space types, and Grubb has had 0 answers for it. The only answer he had was get Jackson Smith and Jigba the ball more in the passing game. And it's fine, but that's not going to, light up the scoreboard. So there's that. Couple last things here. Charlene Pickens, game script. The Steelers got that massive lead, and they leaned on the run. They tried to time out the Bengals, and they did. They really much, it's like the MMA match. They choked them out, yeah. I also mentioned that Bucky Irving last week took over the snap share from Rachaad White. If you had any questions now whose backfield it is, it's not Rachaad White's backfield. I had somebody tell me like 4 weeks ago, oh, no, it's a Conan Moore. No, it's not. The snaps were, they did favor White, but it was, he didn't say Cole. He said like White's the number one. It's his job. No, it wasn't. It's been like 7 weeks now where they were equal, but now in the last 2 weeks, yeah, this is so much Bucky Irving's backfield. 25 carries, $152. Now, Rachaad White gets an overtime run for 38 yards. Otherwise, he was 10 for 38 in this game. Overtime saved him and got him to 76. White had 1 catch for 2 yards. Bucky Irving caught 3. Yeah, Bucky Irving is a dude. He is a dude right now. Country had started at Marvin Harrison. You wish you gone Darnold over Herbert. Yeah, I know. But that, Darnold got lucky on his touchdowns. He played terribly. So you're right. You could have lucked into some points, but he was awful. He got lucky. Johnny Munt was sitting in the end zone. But yeah, I get it. This fantasy game is tough. I would trade Walker for Connor. Yeah, Connor is the engine of that team. And Rachaad White's a receiver. He's always been a receiver. He's not a running back. He's a pass catcher. He's the change of pace guy. He always should have been a change of pace guy, but they didn't have anybody else. They had no other guys. So, all right, well, guess what? Rachaad, you're the starter. Then they got a guy. And once they got a guy, I was always saying this. Once they got a guy, Rachaad White was done as a runner. Done. Because he's not a good runner. He's a terrible interior runner. He's got skinny legs. He can't break tackles, but he's very good in the open field. Very good in the open field. You use him as a change of pace guy. Use him as a receiving only back. That's optimizing Rachaad White, not giving him hammer carries between the tackles. That's not his game. Bucky Irving, yeah, that's his game. So yeah, it's not a matter of volume. It's a matter of skill set, style, right? It's your style. And it's nothing wrong with being like the Jaylen Warren. Like Rachaad White's like a Jaylen Warren type. They're excellent in that second role. You don't want him in the first role. Now, Rachaad White got a ton of volume last year, and volume's king in fantasy football, so he saved your fantasy season. But it wasn't that. And Charlene, awesome. All right, everybody. RotoWire covers all the fantasy sports. You know that you can get a free 2-day trial. No credit card needed. Go to rotowire.com/pod. Check us out. If you like us, join the team. If not, we're glad you looked. I want to thank our sponsors, Circa Resort and Casino in downtown Las Vegas, and Live Fantasy. Whether it's and with Circa, whether it's Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, or Monday, Stadium Swim's America's favorite place to watch football. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Come back next week for another edition of the RotoWire Fantasy Football Podcast.